Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting. I'd like to call to order the Albany City Council meeting for October 1st, 2018. Please join Councilmember Moss in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Barnes?
Here.
Councilmember Moss?
Here.
Councilmember Pilch?
Present.
Vice Mayor Nason? Here. Mayor McQuay?
Here. We have two ceremonial items tonight. 3-1 Proclamation, Fire Prevention Week Proclamation. Chief, would you come up to the podium? City of Albany Proclamation in recognition of Fire Prevention Week 2018. Whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the location where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas home fires killed 2,735 people in the United States in 2016, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 352,000 home fires, with the majority of U.S. fire deaths, 4 out of 5, occurring at home each year. And whereas the fire death rate per 1,000 home fires reported to U.S. fire departments was 10% higher in 2016 than in 1980, and whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, and Albany's residents should install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, and on every level of the home. And whereas Albany's residents should listen for the sound of the smoke alarm, and when it sounds, respond by going outside immediately to a designated meeting place. And whereas Albany residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Albany's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas the 2018 Fire Prevention Week theme, Look, Listen, Learn, Be Aware, Fire Can Happen Anywhere, effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Albany City Council hereby recognizes October 7 through 13, 2018 as Fire Prevention Week throughout this city, and urges all the people of Albany to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out in the event of a fire or other emergencies, respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the Albany Fire and Emergency Services during Fire Prevention Week 2018. Good job. Thank you. You want to say a few words?
Yes. Thank you very much. I'd like to just give a brief update on our disaster preparedness, fire prevention efforts that are ongoing, and we made a lot of accomplishments last couple of years, actually. So I'll start off with our fire and earthquake safety training. We've met with the city administration, recreation, and public works to have an in-service on what to do in the city's building should there be a disaster. We're coordinating with community development and finance in the near future to provide that same in-service. Our Emergency Operations Center assignments and training have really excelled in the last year and a half. I've been working with many of the department heads and Lieutenant Smizer, who's been a big help in coordinating a lot of this. These are important dates that the City Council asked once we adopted our emergency operations plan, where we go from there. So the training dates have been selected for our SIMS, NIMS combination training course. The first course in our multi-year training and exercise plan, all full-time city staff are required to attend one of the following meeting dates. The first training is October 8th, and it's going to be department heads, assistant department heads, city manager, public safety management. Participants will also be certified as executive senior officials who attend this. The second training will be November 19th for non-management full-time staff. On November 19th, it's scheduled a 2-hour Albany City Council training from 1700 to 1900 that will be held in the council chambers at a request that is very important that you wanted to be part of the training. And so that is when it's scheduled to be the training. And hopefully, I know everybody's busy, but we will be able to have good participation. These are the building blocks of our 3-year training exercise program. In early 2019, the city will conduct staff training with the EOC workshop for 8 hours. These classes will be offered to neighboring cities at Berkeley, El Cerrito, Richmond to reduce the cost of creating a dialogue between the cities, and they share their training information with us, so we're not duplicating efforts, so we try to participate in that level. Our care and shelter with Isabel, Sid, and Robin have took a big lead in with the American Red Cross to provide care and shelter for our residents. The American Red Cross will be teaching a shelters fundamental on October 20th at the Senior Center from 8 to noon. So we need volunteers to sign up for that. The next care and shelter manager class will be in 2019. We're currently working on bids for emergency shelter supplies for these shelters, and I'll mention a few here that we have: cots, blankets, and stuff like that we've never had in our shelters before. So we're going to get the basic supplies. Basically, we'll have to be on our own for a couple of days if there's a large earthquake until Red Cross comes. The Senior Center has been added to the National Shelter List. The Albany Community Center is nearing sign-off as a shelter also. We are also working with the school district for additional school shelters this fall. The Albany CERT and block captains, as you know, we started a new CERT class here a couple days ago. Claire and Lizzie have finished contacting all the past block captains and CERT members and are creating a master list for those who are still interested in adding to the list to find out what blocks are not fully covered. We've had 3 members take part in the Green Command, a hands-on training at Urban Shield, and have participated in that. And we also held a block captain CERT meeting at the UC Village on June 24th and had over 30 in attendance. Our neighborhood service manager, a new one, Sid, has been an integral part, and we have pages of stuff that I think he knows about, what we're asking for help, but I don't know how he's going to get it done, but he's done more than I would expect with his time sharing. So Sid, welcome aboard. It's a huge task to take on, and he hit the ground running. I think I assigned him to this Urban Shield thing when they're calling him, he's sending in faxes and stuff, and it was, I don't know, first or second day he's ever done it, and boy, he hit it with flying colors, man. It was like, you know, Tim said, we got it, just, okay, all right. Our disaster preparedness storage containers, we have 3 containers. They're Ocean View Elementary, Marin Elementary, and Albany Middle School. All of these trailers in the 17-18 have been upgraded with monies that we've gotten from grants from Alameda County towards these types of projects. And we're researching for additional funding for supplies and budget options. We've also evaluated our emergency power infrastructure for all the critical city buildings, and obviously our city hall and our fire station, our police station have emergency backup, and we're working for full backup to all the city buildings, specifically to the ones that would be emergency shelters and that type of buildings. We've also had a great success with working with GIS and plotting out our maps for emergencies, earthquake, faults, and so on and so forth, with the volunteer effort of Phil Balin, who is a GIS worker in Walnut Creek, lives in El Cerrito, has donated over 100 hours of time to help us because it's his passion. So we couldn't do it without him, and some of our maps are just phenomenal. I'll have to get you copies of what they are. But since we don't have a GIS specialist, we try to reach out and become friends with people who know how to do this stuff. So it's been good. I bought a few dinners, but nothing to the extent that he's done. Our debris management, it falls underneath the Public Works Division, and Claire has hosted, I believe, a kickoff for debris management annex, and Mark Hurley is in charge of it for the city. And FEMA estimates that approximately 40% of the total cost of disaster is in debris removal. So this is a huge part of this, and we don't have an annex yet. I've spoken about all the different annexes. This is one that's going to be added to one of our annexes here soon. That is going to be a big help once we get that coordinated. As far as our future goals and what we're looking at mitigating a lot of increased fire hazards at the Albany Hill, and we're working with Public Works to come up with a management and a budget plan to mitigate many of the hazards there that haven't yet been mitigated, and we're working on that. As we speak, we've had great cooperation with one of the Albany Hill owners who owns a large amount next to 555 Pierce. So if you look, I've been out there weekly working with him or his crew, and you'll notice a huge difference in those big logs and piles of stuff. He's been very, very cooperative in accommodating the needs of the fire service and our community there. And probably 3 or 4 huge bins that he's hauled off from there. I went out and met this morning. So we couldn't do it without our citizens and our owners of these properties. We're looking to increase our public outreach regarding emergency preparedness and increase our AC alert system for our residents who sign up, and we've advertised it, but we're going to try to do more of a campaign. We're going to train staff on mass notification process, and Claire's kind of took the lead on that. She's trained and has reached out to other departments to train them to put out this emergency message and templates and so on and so forth with that. We're going to adopt a plan to shelter in place if there would be a gas leak or some type of, we wouldn't want people to leave the town. We want them to stay and shut their windows. We're going to work on a protocol to how to direct people to do that, and so they understand that. And also perform periodic emergency preparedness exercise to improve readiness for disasters. And I'm sure all of you read the paper today what October is for wildfires. The ones that have been the biggest in history have been in October. So fire season is becoming almost a 12-month process anymore. And it's amazing how far it goes in. And a lot of times it extends past October and can start as early as March or April. So the way the environment is, it's really getting pushed to almost a year-round. We continue, on a last note, our fire prevention efforts, our inspection program that we inspect every business, residential, 3 or more, and all businesses in the city of Albany. And we couldn't be as safe as we are today without their cooperation. We require alarm systems and sprinkler systems, and with their support and cooperation, it really makes our city safe. And if you look at the fire loss in the city of Albany, it kind of speaks for itself. I've never even read about a city that has 0 or near 0 fire loss in there, and it's all due to the efforts of our community, our support for our city council, and our inspection program. So that's it for me. Any questions? Be glad to answer.
Any questions? Well, seeing no questions, I just want to say thank you to you and to your staff and Claire and Sid and everybody for all the hard work you're doing. This is wonderful. We've been needing to kind of catch up for a while, and now we're really on target, and that's great. And I really appreciate that.
Thanks. More to come, and thank you for your support.
And you forgot to tell us about pancake breakfast. Most important.
Right, I have flyers, and I'm going to give them to my boss to send out to you. Exactly, it's on your, I want to make sure I get the right information here. Upcoming, okay, events. I know it's the second Saturday. Here it is. Albany Fire Department Open House. Pancake Breakfast, October 13th, 8 to 12 at the Albany Fire Station. You're going to have all the firefighters cooking breakfast and fire demonstrations, and the money raised will go to the Alicia Burn Foundation, Alicia Roosh Burn Foundation. So we would love to have the biggest turnout ever. We put a lot of work and effort into this, and this is our kind of our signature event. So please pass it on. We're going to be out at the schools during Fire Prevention Week doing all that. So we would love to have you, and they cook good. Firefighters do a good job cooking, and Sometimes you can tell by looking at them, and sometimes you can't. But anyway, it's great food. I'll vouch for that.
Thank you. Okay, and our next ceremonial matter, 3.2, Certificate of Appreciation, Albany Recreation Department. They put on a little event the other night, and we are extremely grateful for all of your hard work. Shelley, do you want to come up? Is this the 1,500 photos?
Hi. So, how many towns actually have dinner together? It's quite a wonderful thing. Let me read the Certificate of Recognition. The Albany City Council commends the City of Albany Recreation and Community Services Department staff in recognition of your service to our community and your tireless effort to conduct Albany Local Week and Dinner with Albany 2018.
I think I'm the only recreation staff here today. So I thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for recognizing my staff. This past week is, we call the month Rectember because we do so many events in September. And I truly have an amazing staff that has been working very hard. As you know, Local Week started about 8 or 9 years ago, and it's all about promoting local businesses and getting people to do everything in Albany for a week. We advertise 60 businesses in our activity guide that offer specials during the week. We partner with 8 different businesses to put on the 9 events that happen before Dinner with Albany, and there's a little something for everyone. It was a great week, and everything was well attended. We finish it up with Dinner with Albany, which is a celebration of the community, but also a big partnership with those local businesses that are on that street. We provide 10 of the restaurants in that area free tables so they can extend their dinner service for an additional over 500 chairs that were there. And then we work with about 15 to 17 businesses to provide all of our food, everything we give to, if we provide meals for bands or our staff, or in the VIP section, all comes from local businesses. So we're very proud of that effort that the staff puts into it. I just want to call out a few people that have worked. I can't even tell you how many hours. I probably shouldn't. HR is not here tonight. So, but Eva in my office, and Robin at the Senior Center, and Liam and Brendan and Alana, our new staff person, and everybody. We're about 9 people full time. We also manage to handle day-to-day operations for recreation, and then put on this huge party. This year had nearly 4,000 chairs and 643 tables, which, as you know, you've all attended it before, was bigger this year. So it was a big party. And those guys right there, the Public Works Department, they are our partners. We work really closely with them, and it's a huge month for them too. So we really appreciate them helping us out. And then Jeremy, right on cue. Jeremy, who runs our sound and handles all the wires that connect to something and make things sound great, steps up during the time. And then I had to negotiate to keep at least a little bit of Sid through Dinner with Albany before he left, so I appreciate his help with VIP as well. So thank you very much for recognition, and it truly goes out to my staff who put in that 18-hour day, and it's 26,000 steps if you're wondering how many we take. So thank you very much.
Thank you all for a wonderful, wonderful week and evening. And I do want to mention that the Uber Albany winner this year was Ken McCroskey, who, as I'm sure you all know, has done a lot for the city, and he got the award this year. Okay, consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. By approval of the consent calendar, the staff recommendations will be adopted unless otherwise modified by the City Council. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or a member of the audience wishes or requests removal of the item from the consent calendar. Any member of the council wish to pull an item? Any member of the public wish to pull an item? Seeing no one, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Barnes?
Yes.
Councilmember Moss?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilch?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nason?
Yes.
Mayor McQuay?
Yes, and the motion carries. Good of the city. Good of the city is a time for persons desiring to address the city council on an item that is not on the agenda. Please note the city policy limits each speaker to 3 minutes. The Brown Act limits the council's ability to take and/or discuss items that are not on the agenda. Therefore, such items are normally referred to staff for comment or for a future agenda. Do you have comment cards?
Yes.
I didn't submit a comment card. I'm sorry. I didn't know we needed to do that for good of the city. Good evening. My name is Joan Larson. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Albany Library. And I want to make you aware of 2 things. You're invited to 2 parties. So the first party is that on next Wednesday, on the 10th of October, we're having our annual meeting. And it starts at 6:30 for the business meeting. And at 7 o'clock, we're delighted to present the author of Louisiana Catch, which is a book about what Savita does is she counsels women who have been abused with yoga. And she's published 15 books, and she's a very interesting lady, and I think you would enjoy hearing her. And my second invitation is, yesterday I went to a Alameda County community gathering, which was, none of you were at. And what it mostly asked for was opinions about where we wanted our library to go. And as a president of the Friends of the Albany Library, I have some issues. Number 1 is safety. Number 2, I don't know if Lance left. Hi, Lance. We have, as far as I know, as a volunteer in the basement, no provisions for anything but a little fire extinguisher. We're kind of in a cement bunker down there. Used to be the EOC room. There is 0 earthquake supplies in the basement of where Jeremy and all of us volunteers and many classrooms are held. I don't know what's upstairs with Shelley. I know the library is extremely limited. The Friends raise about $42,000 to $46,000 a year in our book sales, and we would gladly be collaborative to support something. We also had a current member of the school board come who said that he wanted certain things to be happening between the city and the library and the school district that weren't happening. So, I mean, I think that, I know you have 2x2 meetings. Ross, is that what you asked?
No.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I know you have 2x2 meetings, and I think that it might also be worth it to once have a 3x3 meeting and invite the county. Anyway, so my time's up. I have lots more of these, and I'm going to ask Shelley to put them in the lobby at the community center.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I am Jim Aycock, Albany resident. I just had some comments, partly in the form of comment, partly in the form of question about the situation people living in their vehicles in this area are contending with. I know a lot of them have been pushed out of areas because they're not considered appropriate for them to be there, or they've been towed. I was struck the other day by a story of a young woman who was living in her car in the Whole Foods area, and it broke down and it got towed. And now she's living, this young woman living by herself in a tent over near Whole Foods, which I consider a very dangerous situation, which if there'd been a way for her to find a place to park, she wouldn't have had to face. I just had an idea, maybe it's already being considered for the city of Albany or Albany in conjunction with Berkeley to find a location where there could be a legal parking place, like a vehicle village, say, where some of the people could who are living in their vehicles could park legally, and maybe you'd have like a shower trailer, a porta potties, whatever, and maybe even other services such as the Navigation Center on 2nd Street to serve the people. I know it's an expensive proposition, but I just want to throw out the idea and see if people are considering anything like that at this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me bend the rules here a little bit. I'm Susan Schwartz, the head of Friends of Five Creeks. I want to thank you for passing the consent item funding preparation of a maintenance permit and maintenance plan for Codornices Creek. So I will now make this about something not exactly on the agenda. It happens that yesterday I walked along our other nearest trout stream, Saucil Creek, and the same consultants that you are hiring did a more recent restoration there. They also did the earlier work on Codornices. We all learn. On this new Saucil Creek, there are trails that invite people to go down to the creek. There are low, attractive safety fences instead of cyclone fences. There is the kind of grass that we've all learned is the only native grass that will keep out the weeds. There's varied plantings in the trees. So I think that this is really a second chance for this area that has not lived up to its promise. I'm really excited and want to thank Claire for her work in getting this going. We look forward to that maintenance fund and to many years of making this the kind of amenity for Albany that it should be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. We're here tonight to present a brief update on the implementation of the rent review program. The ordinance, as you know, will take effect on November 2nd, 2018, which means that starting on November 2nd, if a tenant receives a rent increase, notice above 5%, they can apply for rent review services. The rent review program will be administered by ECHO Housing, and applications will be sent to ECHO directly. The application will be available on the city website, at City Hall, the Senior Center, and at the Community Center. Starting on November 2nd, landlords must include, as part of the rent increase notice, a notice of availability of rent review. Staff are currently preparing the notice, which will be available on the city website and at City Hall. Per the rent review ordinance, landlords must register and pay a fee of $15 per residential rental unit. For landlords with existing business licenses, the fee will be due at renewal, and landlords will be billed for the fee, which will be due by January 31st, 2019. For new landlords, the fee will be due at issuance of the business license. So now Sid will provide an overview of the rent review program outreach.
Thank you, Isabel. The city website now has a dedicated page to rent review, which is updated regularly. It currently includes links to the ordinance and frequently asked questions, and this will be the location where all rent review program forms will be available on November 2nd. We've also scheduled 3 community rent review workshops, which will be held on Thursday, November the 1st, Tuesday, December the 11th. Both of those workshops will be at 7 p.m., and Saturday, January the 12th at 11 a.m. Those workshops will be led by ECHO Housing, the program administrator. All 3 workshops will be held at the Senior Center and will cover background and overview of the rent review program, noticing requirements for rent increases above 5%, how a tenant can request rent review, the conciliation and mediation processes, residential rental unit registration and fees process, and of course, questions and answers. Other outreach includes that we are currently advertising the rental review program information and workshop through the city weekly e-news. We are receiving and responding to rent review inquiries daily from both tenants and landlords. Going out this week is an informational rent review postcard mailed to all Albany addresses and all out-of-town landlords. Lastly, a rent review information insert will be included with business license renewals at the beginning of December. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that brings us to council member reports on meetings attended, announcements of future meetings, city manager report and comments. Anyone have meetings they've attended? Nick, are you reaching?
Yeah, I just, excuse me, looking for my notes.
All right, we'll come back to you. Rochelle?
Okay. I attended the 2x2x2 with Mayor McQuaid. Also, I thought I would mention the special meeting of the City Council, which, if people were not aware that we did have one. I went to a very interesting meeting with the Friends of Albany Hill. Mark Hurley of our Department of Public Works came to be a resource person. There was an excellent discussion of monarch issues and the very difficult question of the relationship between monarch butterflies and eucalyptus trees. And the need for sensitivity in our construction there. I attended the Best of Albany awards ceremony and the dinner with Albany.
You had something?
Sure. On the 22nd, I went to the design review pop-up that happened on Solano Avenue, showing some of the work that's is being talked about and planned for Solano Avenue revitalization. I had attended the day before the community advisory group to see how that was going, and I would report that it's going well. Everyone's very enthusiastic about some of the proposed changes. I believe that might be coming before council sometime in January. I also attended the Waste Management Authority meeting. That was a pretty routine meeting. There was expansion or change to the county integrated waste management plan, execution of conservation easements on WMA property, and a grant that we'll be sharing, Alameda County will share with Marin County to study ways to embody carbon into construction projects. I also attended the Alameda County Transportation Commission on the 27th. That was mostly a discussion about how well the new HOV, high occupancy vehicle lanes, are doing on 580 out in the Tri-Valley. And then a discussion, is that what we're going to do going forward on the rest of 580 that goes through Oakland and Berkeley and a bit of Albany, as well as the sections of 680 that are in Alameda County. And my guess is that's the future, that we will probably have these toll roads for getting people into carpools and more passengers per vehicle. Finally, I would have to mention Dinner with Albany, although it was spoken about, a great event. The comments I heard this year were, why can't we do this every year? And also, the band was too loud while dinner was happening. So, a great event.
Nick?
Yes, I attended Dinner with Albany as well, and the Best of Albany and Food Truck Friday. Don't forget that one. And more seriously, I attended the EBCE meeting last Wednesday. number of things were discussed. The commercial rollout is very successful. The number of opt-outs are in the 1% to 2% range for all the cities that can report, so that's very good news. Things are going along at a fast pace. As you will recall, it's already October, so it's only a month away from the residential rollout of EBC to all the residential customers. There was a discussion of how greenhouse gas emissions are calculated, and Claire might be very interested in that. I'll try to send her a link because it went over my head, but someone who seemed to be very familiar with how the different methods of doing that gave us an in-depth presentation of that in relation to how EBC is going to decide to calculate its greenhouse gas emissions. They talked about, excuse me, the rate-setting protocol and the interest in making sure that when rates change, when PG&E rates change, that EBC respond very promptly. Apparently in some CCAs, they lag behind PG&E. They wait until PG&E comes out with their new rates, and then the CCA, it takes a while to catch up, which can be a problem if PG&E decreases their rates, because then the CCA goes along for a month or two with the higher rates than PG&E, relatively higher in any case. And so EBC, I thought, was doing a nice job in trying to make sure that they are lockstep with PG&E. Finally, there was talk of the PCIA, which is something that PG&E imposes on CCAs, which is a power charge, something indifference, or no? It goes to, they charge CCAs an amount that's equal to the costs that PG&E has incurred in having very long-term contracts for energy. So the CCAs come along and they don't have to have these long-term contracts, which PG&E has already bought into, so they charge the CCAs for this. Anyway, the calculation each year about how much they charge the CCAs is different, and there's currently, in the CPUC, there's a discussion of 2 different ways they're going to set the rate for the coming year, and one of them is very unfavorable, or seems to be very unfavorable to CCAs, and so there's a large advocacy effort for that. I don't know if we've written a letter about that yet, but we likely would. Anyway, a lot of in-depth discussion there. I'll move on to the EV Coordinating Council, which is a meeting that happened this morning. That's the program of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. That was very interesting. The discussion centered mainly around low-income adoption of plug-in vehicles for low-income residents and the various ways to allow low-income folks to acquire or use plug-in vehicles. So there was quite a few presentations on various things that mostly CCAs and cities and special districts have been doing. And all that information, by the way, the EV Coordinating Council stuff is also available, but it takes a little bit of doing to get to it, so I'll try to remember to send out links to that information. And I think that's it, and then I just have one thing that goes more under the rubric of announcements, so I'll leave that to the end of the meeting, which I think is our official announcements place.
Peggy?
You might have to remind me, but okay.
Okay.
I just want to say there is one event that I attended that is not mentioned yet, and that was the final Music in the Park event on Wednesday. It was a total blast. It's so Albany. I mean, it's hard not to love it, and I do. So.
Okay. I attended the Coffee with the Cops a few weeks ago, the United Against Hate Week kickoff, which we'll hear more about in a few minutes, Food Truck Friday, the Solano Avenue Complete Streets pop-up, the 2x2x2 with the Vice Mayor, the Senior Center Open House, Best of Albany, and of course, Dinner with Albany. And I also want to let people know that there is another Coffee with the Cops on Wednesday. It is from 8 to 9 in the morning, and it's at Royal Ground. And now we have a city manager report.
Yeah, a little bit lengthier than usual. Bear with me. I'll try and do my best to chug along. Our police department, I may be repeating some stuff too, so I'll paraphrase. Our police department had a different type of Coffee with the Cops event where they partnered with El Cerrito Police Department on the Greenway on September 18th. It was well attended and well received. Additionally, they conducted their annual safety presentations at Albany Middle School on September 27th, where the officers engaged with the students about pedestrian safety and online social media safety. Also, the police department today started an online LGBTQ training for law enforcement. They are piloting this training and will be providing research and input back to the training professionals regarding the course. Our Public Works Department is very busy as they've just concluded the support of Dinner with Albany. Our engineers are also hard at work. The sidewalk program is now in phase 2. We anticipate the improvements will begin on October 15th, and we have a tentative schedule posted on our website for the blocks that have received a notice. They can try and figure out exactly when the parameters of the improvements will occur. It's going to rain. And as that, Public Works has been working really hard to make sure that we're going to avoid any unnecessary flooding. We also encourage residents to do their part in cleaning their own gutters or sump pumps or downspouts that they may have overlooked in the more comfortable climate. Also, we have the ongoing program where we provide the sandbags through our fire department, as well as sand down at Ocean View Park. The Senior Center kitchen improvements are just about done. They're completing the last punch list on those improvements for a much more welcome space. The Evelyn paving project between Portland and Garfield is substantially complete. This work was done through SB1 funding. The water bottle filling stations are finally coming. This is funded by our sugar sweetened beverage tax funding. You should start seeing the installation in mid-October, beginning with Memorial Park, so right around the corner. Also, new this year, the Alameda County Registrar Voters Office asked our Public Works Department if that could be a polling location. So, of course, we're engaging to support that opportunity. The voter information and sample ballot pamphlet started being mailed out. I received mine, so please check the mail for those. And as hopefully all of you recall, we have a nice little blue box out front, so you don't have to pay postage to vote if you are a vote by mail individual. And that will open on October 8th. Some general administration. I'm almost done. As some of you attended the Solano Avenue Complete Streets, thank you for attending, and please remember to check out that website for next steps, because there will be a number of next steps as it is a public planning process, solanocompletestreets.org. The Household Hazardous Waste event that's occurring on October 7th is going to be even better now. You can get rid of your mattresses as well as used propane canisters. These are new accepted items if you have any hanging around. The local hazard mitigation plan was approved by FEMA, and in August, staff began implementing this, and we're now engaged with all departments in terms of next steps on that plan. We're also excited to welcome our new Civic Spark Climate Fellow, Lizzie Carrad, who started on September 10th. She's not here this evening to introduce, but I'm sure she will have a presentation to the council in the near future. Her focus will be on community engagement for the climate action planning process, implementing the local hazard mitigation plan, and also electric vehicle policies as well as other sustainability items. Lastly, we're hosting a disaster preparedness class on shelter fundamentals. The class will be taught by the American Red Cross on Saturday, October 20th from 8 to noon at the Senior Center. All are welcome, and they can register with our Neighborhood Services Division. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. I have a question about sandbags. Several years ago, we had a request from seniors and disabled people that we set up some kind of a program where someone can help them fill their bags instead of having them have to do it themselves and then lift them. Can we look into that again this year?
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, that brings us to our presentation. We have a presentation tonight on United Against Hate Week. And our presenter is Patrice O'Neill, a filmmaker, journalist, and leader of Not in Our Town, a community-based movement of people working to stop hate together. She has produced a successful Not in Our Town national series on PBS and led a multi-platform approach that utilizes documentary film, social networking, outreach, and organizing efforts to encourage dialogue and community action. The series began as a half-hour PBS special and turned into a dynamic movement that continues to thrive in communities across the U.S. and around the world. In addition to making films, she and the Not in Our Town team have fostered a network of Not in Our Town community activists among the mayors, police chiefs, educators, and faith leaders, and helped lead a series of anti-hate media campaigns featuring screenings and town hall meetings in hundreds of communities nationwide. Patrice is here this evening to share with us information about United Against Hate Week, which will be November 11th through 18th. You want to come on up?
Thanks so much. It's wonderful to be in this community with such a vibrant city life. And I was really happy to hear the presentations that preceded this. I'm, as Mayor McQuaid said, I'm from Not in Our Town. I'm a filmmaker. I didn't expect to be doing this a good portion of my life. I've been doing it for the past 20 years now and working with communities like this around the country. Not in Our Town came from the actions of people in Billings, Montana, who stood up when white supremacists started organizing in their town. And the title of the film, it was a PBS film we did, came from a sporting goods store. When state groups started organizing, people in the town started taking action. The culminating event occurred when a 6-year-old Jewish boy placed a menorah in his window for Hanukkah, and a brick was thrown through the window and landed on his bed, and people knew they had to do something to resist this, and so they started putting paper menorahs in their windows, and that year 10,000 people put menorahs in their windows. So this idea that each of us can do something to stand up to hate is what we've been working on with Not in Our Town for many, many years. In the aftermath of Charlottesville, people in communities around the Bay were reeling because it wasn't just Charlottesville that saw an attack of white supremacists. We saw the rise in hate incidents and hate crimes all throughout the Bay Area, all throughout the country. And there was a whole series of clashes in the city of Berkeley. The mayor and his senior advisor, Mayor Jesse Arreguín, and his senior advisor, Jack McCormick, were watching these clashes in the streets and on the campus, and they said, what can ordinary people do who want to take some kind of action? What can they do? And so they came up with the idea of these posters. They went to an artist. Berkeley Stands United Against Hate was born, and it spread to cities, including yours, in Albany and Hayward, Alameda, Piedmont, Noe Valley, all across, particularly the East Bay, these posters spread. So it was with great admiration for these posters that Not in Our Town pulled together these leaders, including Mayor McQuaid, who came to the first meeting, and a committee formed for people who had been city leaders who had been spreading these posters, and they said, we want to do more. We can't let this just be a poster. Let's try to do more. And so Bay Area United Against Hate Week was born. The idea for this set of actions. Now, some people might say, oh my gosh, hate. Why are we talking about hate? Why aren't we talking about inclusion? It is, in fact, part of our messaging that we send to people, that that our communities are working together for a safe, inclusive community. But if you want inclusion, if you want people to feel safe in your town, you can't deny hate. Because if you deny it, it grows. And to give you an example of that, our team created this short video to help communities begin this discussion in advance of Bay Area Unite Against Hate Week. So I'm going to show that now and then tell you a little bit more about what's happening. It's just about 4.5 minutes.
Creek 911, where's your emergency?
Yeah, I was just going to 6 Temple.
Got a shooting?
Okay, did anybody get hit? Hello?
Somebody called and said, you know, your dad's been shot.
It's hard to think that it happened to us, such a small community, such a tight community. It was shocking.
Beautiful, godly, caring people who are spending time together in prayer and Bible study. And a young man came into this wonderful historic church and he killed them.
America is just now coming to grips with what unfolded here in the early morning hours here in Orlando, a massacre at a gay nightclub.
My son hasn't been heard from, so I don't know if he was left in the club, if he got shot. It's terrible. He's my only child.
This was not an ordinary call. I try not to get personally involved in the cases, but it's hard in something like this. A Native American branded with a swastika. When I met Vincent, I thought, did they really take advantage of this kid because of his handicap?
Why would they hurt me?
I am going to make sure that we find out what happened. And I want the people that did this to be held accountable.
The vast majority of hate crimes are never reported to the police. I see trauma that's sort of inflicted on victims when charges are not brought, when it's not recognized what happened to them.
I remember laying on the ground after being attacked and really just feeling like, this is it. This is how a trans woman dies.
El primer golpe yo lo sentí que de allá no sé cómo pude escapar.
And the people need to feel comfortable, regardless of their immigration status, to come to us.
The day of the Temple shooting, I had been shot 15 times. I go right out and take another 12 if I knew that the Sikh community could actually be noticed for who they are.
As much as you were going through these feelings of grief, so was the rest of this community. And the rest of the community literally took their arms, braced them around you, and took that burden of pain away.
Let's try to get rid of the hatred and the violence. Please.
It causes me to pull on a whole higher level of faith, soul searching. But it also provokes a higher act of love.
We need to change the conditions that allow for hatred and violence to thrive in this city.
We need to stand together to ensure that these acts of violence that are based on racist behavior or gender or any other type of hate are turned around and that we will not allow them to happen in our city.
We can accomplish things that set examples across the nation, across the world. We can make a change that's real.
So the survivors of hate are showing us what's at stake, and people in our community who have been targeted by hate are showing us what's at stake. I think the big change will happen if as many people as possible get involved, and no act is too small to make this a really meaningful first week of United Against Hate Week. So I hope that all of you will encourage your residents to get involved. We're offering all of our films for free to screen in libraries, in houses of worship, in civic groups, in schools. But there could be art contests, there could be discussion groups, there could be musical concerts. So many things could occur. I think the point is to begin this conversation and find a way to meet each other and start the talk that leads to action about stopping hate and engaging people. So I hope that you will encourage people to go to unitedagainsthateweek.org and sign up. You'll see examples of your wonderful posters that are here from Albany. You can grab one of these posters. There are a few outside, and become involved. And thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor McQuaid, for being part of this committee, and one of the 13 cities so far that have become involved with United Against Hate Week. Our goal is 25, a quarter of the cities in the 9-county area. We want to get to 25. Last week, Jacqueline McCormick said, no, we're going to try for more. So it spreads. Every single week we get more. Last week we found out there's going to be an event in Los Angeles. So we're really excited and look forward to what will happen in Albany. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And I will say that I have met with the school superintendent and with staff from the university. We are tentatively planning November 16th to have a film and discussion hosted by the university at UC Village. And obviously you'll get more information as we move forward. Okay, that actually brings us to other business announcements of events, future agenda items. Nick, you had an announcement?
Yes, I was just perusing the list of bills that were highlighted by the League of California Cities, and I noticed that AB 2923 Bay Area Rapid Transit District Land Use Authority passed and was signed by the governor, and this provides land use authority over property within a half-mile of a BART station to BART. And I think that some of our land might lie within a half-mile of El Cerrito Plaza BART station. So just an announcement that that might be something that affects us.
Thank you. And with that, we will adjourn. We're adjourning this evening in memory of Marla Stevenson. Marla Stevenson passed away on Tuesday, September 18th at her home following a brief illness. She was born in Oakland, California, and later called Benicia her home. She earned her bachelor's degree from Long Beach State, master's in education from St. Mary's College, and her administrative credential from Chapman University. Marla was an educator. She started as a special education teacher in Fresno and retired as superintendent of schools in Estacada, Oregon in 2017. However, she spent the majority of her career in Albany as Albany Middle School principal, assistant superintendent, and finally superintendent of schools. She was a true public servant and was driven by her guiding principle of good for kids or not good for kids that she carried throughout her career. Marla believed in giving back. She was a member of the Albany and El Cerrito Rotary Clubs and worked to help people in need throughout the world. She was an avid reader and loved to cook and garden, and especially was fond of her roses. She had a vibrant and vivacious personality, loved to throw a good party, she did too, and had an uncanny ability to make people feel and be their best. Marla truly lived life to the fullest. She was a world traveler, loved art and music in all cultures. She adored her grandchildren and rarely missed a game or practice of theirs. She was an important part of our community for many years and truly will be missed. So let's take a moment to remember Marla. And with that, we are adjourned.